Good morning, loves. Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for being here. I am coming at you. I am recording on Christmas Eve day. So, right in the thick of all of the holidays. This will be posted after Christmas, though. So, I hope that you all had a wonderful Christmas if you celebrate. And I hope that you are taking care of yourself this holiday season. And at the end of the last podcast, I promised that we would talk more about health around the holidays today. So, last time we covered more like guilt and shame around food, maybe not getting as much movement in, all of that sort of health side of thing. If you missed that one, go ahead and go back and listen to it. But today I want to talk more about mental health because it's a really important thing, especially around the holidays, because you're out of your routine a lot. There's a lot of outside stimulation. Maybe you're around family that you're not normally around. There's just a lot going on around the holidays, and add in family trauma and bad feelings around the holidays, not good experiences around the holidays. There's just like, it can be a shit show sometimes. So it's good to be aware of that. And also, we're going to talk about some things that you can do to take care of your mental health in the midst of it. I don't want you to not be able to enjoy your holiday or put yourself on the back burner just because there's a lot going on. I want you to be able to take care of your mental health and breathe and enjoy the holiday, even if it's maybe a little stressful. And I was listening to a podcast the other day by Glennon Doyle, and she was talking about how, it doesn't have to be like the picture in your head. And I think that can go both ways, right? It can be, it doesn't have to be like that old picture that you have maybe of really crappy holidays. If you grew up in a not so great family, you can create new traditions and it can be happy and joyful. And then also, sometimes we make up this huge, beautiful expectation or picture in our head of what it's going to look like, and then that does not happen. So it can go both ways, like having that awareness and intention of creating a beautiful new experience for yourself if you have bad experiences, and then also remembering that, sometimes things aren't going to go the way that I thought they were going to go or wanted them to go, and that's okay. So it does not have to look like the picture in your head all of the time. And I can tell you this holiday has definitely not looked like the picture in my head. My husband and I traveled up to my family's, and it was just like one thing after the other on our trip. And we drove through a lot of like snow, and it was definitely not the weather I was expecting, and a pretty stressful trip, like driving wise. And so just trying to like let go of that expectation, like, okay, this is more stressful than I was hoping and not quite as fun as I was thinking, but it's okay because it does not have to be perfect. So let's talk about things that you can do to take care of your mental health around the holidays. First off, if you are a highly sensitive person or you struggle with lots of noise or overstimulation, the holidays are very stimulating, whether you're celebrating just yourself or you're with like a big family. So some things that are really important. I think a lot of times when we go back into family situations or back into certain situations that we grew up in over the holidays, it's really easy to kind of like revert back to your child self, even if it's not intentional. And it's easy to kind of push down how you're feeling and stop being aware of your feelings and your emotions and what you need, maybe partly because you weren't allowed to have that as a child, and then maybe also just because like it's still really hard for you to know what you need and be aware of yourself and listen to your feelings and emotions. That can be a really difficult thing to do. So being aware of how you're feeling, I think, is really important, instead of just pushing it all down inside and not listening to yourself. Like if you are feeling really anxious or really stressed or really overstimulated, it's okay to do what you need to do for yourself. And I also want to add in here, if you have a partner, if there's someone with you in that situation and you're both traveling together or both going into a certain situation together, like it's really important to not just assume that you know what they need, but have that conversation like, okay, what do you need today? Like this is a lot of stimulation, lots going on. What do you need? My husband and I had one of those conversations on the trip up. Like it was like, okay, we might need to step away for a second and go get some rest. So being able to talk about what you need with your person also is really important. But being aware of what you need and taking the time for yourself, making the space for yourself. It can be really hard in general to do that, and especially around the holidays if you're like around lots of family. But there are simple things that you can do. Escape to the bathroom for a hot second. I don't know, stay in there a little longer than you need. Go outside, even if it's freezing like it is up here. Going out to a store. The other day, Rick and my brother and I just went and got out of the house for probably a couple hours. Giving yourself some space, even if it's not completely quiet, but a different change of scenery can be really helpful. And then also, like, if you're not staying in the house with your family, going back to wherever you're staying or going to your hotel, and remembering that you don't have to stay stuck somewhere. If you are feeling stuck or feeling overstimulated or claustrophobic, or just like you need a change of scenery and you have somewhere that you can go, you can go. You don't have to feel guilty for that. Sometimes there's a lot of guilt and obligations that are put on you from your family around the holidays, but your mental health and your health in general is much more important than what they maybe want or are expecting of you. It's okay to not always meet everyone's expectations. And again, kind of going back to that picture in our head of what it's supposed to be, sometimes other people have pictures and expectations in their heads of what it's going to be like, and it's not always going to measure up to that, and that's okay, and that's not on you. If they're struggling with that picture in their head, the only thing that you can do is control how you take care of yourself and control how you respond to situations, but you can't control how other people respond to situations. And I think that's a really tricky thing around the holidays, because you want to make everyone happy and you want everyone to have a good time because it's supposed to be a special time of year, right? But it's okay. It's okay if they're disappointed. It's okay if their expectations aren't met 100% of the time. It's okay if one of your family members wants something else and you need something different. That is okay. So putting aside that guilt and that shame and that that feeling of wanting to make everyone happy, I know I struggle with that a lot. I just want to make everyone happy. I want everyone to be at peace. I am always constantly reading the room, making sure everyone's good. It's something I'm really working on, but around the holidays, it's harder. It's harder for me because I just want everyone to be happy and I want everyone to have a good time. But this is my reminder to myself and you as well that not everyone needs to be happy 100% of the time. I don't have to be happy 100% of the time, even if everyone wants me to be. I don't need to try to make everyone else happy 100% of the time. That's not my job. My job is to take care of myself and my husband. And your job is to take care of yourself and the people closest to you who you love the most. Um, so remembering that it's okay. It's okay for everyone not to be happy. It's okay if you're not happy 100% of the time around the holidays. Um, and it's okay to make that space and take care of yourself. So if you're feeling overstimulated, get some space. Maybe it's just a change of scenery. Maybe it's locking yourself in the bathroom or the shower for an extra 5 minutes. Maybe it's going outside. Maybe it's going on a walk. Maybe it's going to the gym and getting a workout in, like whatever it needs to be. Or going back to the place where you're staying for a couple hours, just kind of decompress and then going back to be with family. So overstimulation is a huge thing, especially for us highly sensitive people. So don't just push it away. And people's overstimulation can come out in different ways. Like some people get really anxious when they're overstimulated. Some people get really angry. Some people get really depressed. Like it can show up in different ways. So just be aware of how you're feeling. First and foremost, be aware of how you're feeling. Stop pushing it all down inside. Stop pushing it all down inside. Be kind to yourself and love yourself and listen to what you need. So, big one for overstimulation. Uncomfortable conversations. Those come up a lot around the holidays, right? Especially when you're around a big group of family that maybe you're not with 100% of the time or even very frequently. So, uncomfortable conversations can come up, and that can be a really hard thing to navigate. That can be tricky for your mental health as well. So I would encourage you when you're in those situations, you're allowed to talk about what you want to talk about. You're allowed to have conversations around things that you feel comfortable with. If someone brings something up that you don't feel super comfortable talking about, it's okay to say that you don't want to talk about it. It's okay to set those boundaries when it comes to conversations. So, for example, maybe someone is asking you about, oh, geez. Well, let's say someone's asking you about having kids or what your plans are for family in the future. Like, if you want to shut that conversation down, if you're not comfortable talking about it, or if it holds a lot of pain for you, you can just say, like, hey, I really don't feel comfortable talking about that right now. It's okay to set that boundary for yourself. So, when you're in conversation with different people, remember that, again, the expectation in their head doesn't have to be met. The expectation in your head doesn't have to be met, but also you are allowed to set those boundaries for yourself. You are allowed to step away from conversations if they are unhelpful or hurtful or mean. And you don't have to put up with conversations that you don't want to be a part of. Again, sometimes that's setting the boundary and saying, look, I don't feel comfortable talking about this, or I don't want to talk about this right now. Sometimes it's just getting up and walking away. So setting that boundary for yourself, however it needs to look. What else? So yeah, overstimulation, uncomfortable conversations. If there are just situations other than conversations that you don't feel comfortable with, for example, maybe, or maybe it's not even uncomfortable with, maybe you just don't want to do something. Like if everyone's gonna go play a game or everyone's gonna go on a walk and you really just don't feel like doing it, just because everyone else is doing it does not mean that you have to do it. So being able to say no, or saying that you want to go do something different. It's something that I really focus on in my workbook, Food, Exercise, and You, but being aware of what you want and need and asking for what you want and need. And so not um, throwing that away or pushing that aside around the holidays. So, what do you want? What do you need? And making sure that you're meeting those wants and needs. Sometimes other people are involved in that. Sometimes you need something from someone else. Sometimes you want something from someone else. But also, if you're not getting those wants or needs fulfilled by other people, meeting them for yourself. So, if you need maybe you need some quality time and you don't feel like you're really getting any quality time. Um, maybe it's because either your partner is super overstimulated and stressed out and isn't very present. Maybe it's because your family is stressing you out and is not a very quality time feeling for you. If you're not getting that met outside of yourself, you can go and fulfill it for yourself. So if you don't get that quality time with your partner or your family, you can go and create that quality time for yourself. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's listening to a favorite podcast. Maybe it's creating a podcast if you have a podcast. Maybe it's getting a workout in. Maybe it's going on a walk by yourself. If you are struggling with not getting those wants or needs met, do them for yourself, fulfill them for yourself. You are allowed to create whatever you need within yourself. So don't feel like you have to wait for other people to meet that need or not get that need met because someone isn't in the place to deliver it to you or fulfill it for you. So and that can feel tricky sometimes, right? Because you really want that quality time, or you really want that affection, or you really want to feel that connection, but the other person just isn't in a place to give it to you, or your family is just not the ones to give it to you. And so creating that for yourself can be really helpful and really important, especially around the holidays when you're around lots of family. So listening to what you need, listening to what you want, and not putting those away, not throwing them aside around the holidays is really, really important. Um, what else? We've got overstimulation, so taking that time for yourself. We've got hard conversations, and then we've got situations that maybe you just don't want to be a part of or that make you uncomfortable. Either way. Those are some of the really big ones. Um, and then, of course, like if your family has different traditions or, traditions that they do or take part of that you don't really want to have a part in, it's okay to either say that you don't want to be a part of that tradition anymore, or that or just remove yourself from that situation. So if you know, like for example, on Christmas Eve that everyone goes to a Christmas Eve service and you don't want to go, like just don't be around on Christmas Eve. Or if everyone does a cold winter plunge, like an icy winter plunge on Christmas Eve day, and you don't want to be a part of it, like just either say that you don't want to be a part of it or just don't make yourself present around that time. Like sometimes we make it such a bigger deal in our head, I think, of not being a part of something or saying no to something when really, like, we could just simply remove ourselves from the situation or not allow ourselves to be available around the time of the situation. And we just don't have to take part in it. So being able to set those boundaries. And then also, again, with the picture in our head, if you have bad memories or bad experiences with holidays growing up, I really want you to take time to think about what you want your holiday to look like. Like, do you have any traditions that you want to start? Is there anything that you want to do? um, going back to what you want and what you need. If the holidays are hard, um, that's really hard mentally by itself, even if you don't have any of the other things that we just talked about going on. But you can make them better. You can make them better for yourself, especially if you are an adult and removed from the situation and have your own life and have the ability to create those traditions for yourself. So you have the ability to create a beautiful Christmas, a beautiful New Year's, a beautiful Thanksgiving, whatever holiday it is that maybe you don't enjoy or you have bad memories around. So taking time to think like, okay, maybe this is what like really was screwed up for me growing up, or maybe this is like what I really just did not like. What would I like? What would help to heal that part of me that um, really dislikes holidays because of how I grew up? Um, what can I do? What can I maybe not do to give myself some peace and some joy and some healing around this holiday or this situation? So, for example, maybe Christmas morning just was never like super happy or joyful for you. Um, think about why that was. And then also think about what you can do moving forward to create some joy and some beauty. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing is ever going to be perfect. But healing those parts of us that we felt as children is really important. Reparenting yourself, being aware of that child inside of you and giving it what it wants and what it needs. So listening to that part of you as well that maybe had a lot of bad experiences growing up and needs something a little different now that you're an adult. It's okay for it to not look like it always looked. It's okay for it to not be perfect, and it's okay for it to not look how it has always looked. So I think those are my main tips for you and for myself with our mental health in the holidays. Right now, we're in the thick of it. We just came out of Christmas. We're going into New Year's. If you're struggling, it's okay. You're not alone. There's lots of us right now who are struggling. But take that time and that space, create that time and that space for yourself to get what you need, to fill those needs and wants, to be a little kinder to yourself, to be a little kinder to that child inside of you, to create some new happy and healthy traditions or happy and healthy fun things that you can do either just by yourself or with your partner or your current family. But take care of yourselves. This time of year can be so hard for so many of us. One, with the holidays, two, with seasonal depression, just so much going on. So don't be hard on yourself, first and foremost. Be kind to yourself, have that grace for yourself, some gentleness. Listen to what you need, make time for what you need. If you're feeling overstimulated, step away from the situation. If you are feeling uncomfortable, step away from the situation. You are allowed to step away physically or emotionally. So take care of yourselves this holiday. I hope that you had a great Christmas if you celebrated. If it wasn't great, that is okay too. I hope that you find some peace and some joy in the rest of the holiday season. And I will see y'all back here in January after the new year. We'll kick off 2023 with a bang. It's going to be a good year for us. I'm speaking it into existence. We've had a few shitty years lately, so we're going to have a good year. And you know what? If it's a shitty year with some good moments, we'll take that too. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right, y'all. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next month.